Time to bring in our next guest on the show, and that is going to be Carl Hines. He's the head coach of the Sacred Heart girls basketball team, coming off their state championship in Class 2A. Hey, Coach, congratulations. Appreciate coming on the show. What have the last few days been like for you and the girls?
Well, it's been a whirlwind. They certainly earned that. I'm just super proud of them, but it has been. I don't know how many texts I got. Probably 200. I'm sure the girls got a ton too.
So for you, how long did it take you to go through all those texts and respond?
It took a couple days, I'd go through about 20 and then put the phone down and then go through about 20 more, maybe an hour later. And so it took a couple days to go through it. And really it didn't sink in until Monday, what we had done. It's a first for the school. I was just so happy for the young ladies and the school community and the parents, and so happy to be afforded the opportunity to lead, the Lady Knights to their first ever state title.
Taking place at White Auditorium there in Emporia, what was the atmosphere like in the gym throughout the state tournament?
Oh, the atmosphere was outstanding. Our school supported us so much. We had Spirit Bus after Spirit Bus get down there. I think our student section was probably twice as big as everyone else's. And then we had a ton of alumni that came out and supported. We packed half a White Auditorium all the way to the cheap seats, if you want to call them that. But it was outstanding. I don't know if we'll ever see another environment like it. But it was certainly, the best way possible to go out for like I said, our team. To play in front of a crowd like that is fantastic.
What's it like, especially like when alumni come out, not only show their support, but even just approaching you and your conversations with them, and the pride that they have for Sacred Heart Night basketball and athletics? Like, what's that like, just kind of touching base with the alumni?
Yeah, no, it's awesome. I've known a lot of them for a number of years, even when I was in the public schools. I got to know a lot of people here in Salina. But just to have, some of the former players, students, faculty come up and congratulate you, it's fantastic. I don't know if there's very few days that are going to be as special as what Saturday was for us.
Going into that state tournament, where was your mindset? Where were the girls thinking? Just even making it to state was such an accomplishment, but like, what was your mindset once you got there?
So obviously we went through sub-state, and our sub-state final was we played really well and we shot the ball really well, and we knew that we were good enough to be there. And obviously all 8 teams are good. That's why they're there. And we drew Colgan first round, and getting film on Colgan was tough because they play a lot of Missouri teams, but we were able to get enough, and the Davis girl being a 2,000 point scorer, we knew we had our hands full, but we were able to make enough plays in the fourth quarter to get by them. We got some defensive stops, but after that first one, and you get through all the pomp and circumstance of the opening lineups and how that's all different. Our girls, just seemed to make the right basketball plays at the right time. And once we got through that one, we knew that we had Mound Ridge again, and we played them already in the finals of the Trojan Classic down in Hillsboro. We knew that we were going to have to beat the best teams to be the best team. That was the mindset. But I told them in the semifinals, I said, listen, we're playing with some house money. I don't know if anybody outside our locker room expects us to win, but we certainly expect to win. And that was the mindset going in. And our girls were super confident. They believed in the system that we were running, and we were able to come back after giving Mound Ridge a 9-point lead there. We kind of got out of sorts early, but we got calmed down and figured things out on the defensive end, and it led to an offensive explosion there in the second quarter for us. And so, and then you come back on Saturday and you get the 1 seed. And it was a tremendous run for us. It was historic for the school. But to beat the 3 seed, the 2 seed, and the 1 seed, I think, you leave no doubt when you do something like that. So it was awesome.
You mentioned playing with house money, and a lot of times you get out of state tournament, man, it's tense. like that intensity is high and, some of the pressure there and, the nerves. But do you feel like your girls are able to play pretty loose throughout the entire tournament?
Yeah, it took us a few minutes, I think, to get kind of our feet wet and get through the nerves and the anxiety of it. Yeah, especially, in that first round game, I think, and credit to Colgan and Mound Ridge and Ellenwood. They're terrific teams and they take you out of what you want to do sometimes, and make you change the way you play. But, I think once, the 4 minute mark of that first quarter hit, we were able just to kind of get back into what it was that we really wanted to do. So.
Carl Hines, head coach of the Sacred Heart Knights girls basketball team, joining us here on the show. I mean, I've always felt like, for high school sports, there's nothing better than just, not only competing at the state tournament, but especially once you're fully participating, you get that win, you get to hang out for a little bit and, think about your next game. Like, I don't know, like for high school sports, that's just such a great feeling.
Oh, it's fantastic. High school sports is where it's at. You're coaching kids that love the game and they're playing for the game. They're playing for each other. They're playing for their school. There's nothing else involved. And so it's the purest, I think, form of sports that we have, in America today is high school sports. There's no better venue.
Go to that championship game against Ellenwood. At what point did you kind of feel like, okay, yeah, we got a little bit of rhythm? Seemed like that second quarter, you guys started turning things on.
Yeah, they did a good job of forcing us to get to the basket, and the big girl, the Schlesinger girls, 6'2", is a great rim protector. But our freshman, Emerson Lee, did a really good job of getting downhill. Our guards were super athletic, and we weren't big. We haven't been big all year, but our guards are super athletic, and they can shoot the ball, but they can all get downhill. And so Ellenwood forced us to get downhill, but she kind of found a rhythm there in the first and second quarter, and then we got a couple outside shots to go, and Skylar found her footing, I think, a little bit in the second quarter, and it just, the basket opened up for us.
That picture on KeishaCovered.com by Andy Brown with Skylar hoisting up that trophy, and she has like the two gauzes in her nose with the bloody nose. Like, that's just such a phenomenal picture for you. Like, well, what was it like just seeing her reaction after, getting hit in the nose and then coming back and having those big plays in the fourth quarter?
Yeah, no, she wasn't going to be denied. We kind of knew that. She did get to the doctor, and I think she does have a broken nose. But, we were obviously concerned about her well-being in the third quarter. But when she was able to come back in the fourth quarter and she hit a couple big shots that she's going to talk about for the rest of her life, and to be able to witness that, she's a 4-year starter. She's a senior. She's a basketball girl. She's going to go on and play at Tabor. And she's a tremendous young lady. But for her to be able to come back and hit those two big corner threes, one from the right side, one from the left side, I couldn't be more happy. It couldn't happen to a better player.
Carl Hines joining us here, his Sacred Hearts Knights girls basketball coach. You've kind of a Salina guy, right? You've been around in the Salina middle school scene. You've been Salina Central for a little bit for the other staff. Yep. Like, how excited were you to just kind of join this Sacred Heart staff 5 years ago?
Well, I was super excited at the opportunity. I went in for an interview, and it was just to help coach junior high boys initially. And then they called me back a couple days later and said, well, we might have something else for you. And Sacred Heart's a fantastic school. The faculty is amazing. And it was an opportunity for me to be a head coach at the high school level. And so I was super excited about that. And I'm grateful to our administration, Principal Krychek, and our athletic director, Bryce Woodall, for giving me the opportunity. And it's been 5 years in the making. So, I took it and have never looked back, and Sacred Heart's home. But you're right. I've been here since 2001 and just kind of felt like it was a great opportunity for me.
What have the last few days been like for you?
Well, Saturday, I don't know if it really sunk in what we had accomplished. And even Sunday, to a certain extent, I think it hit me Monday is when I really had some time to kind of exhale and think about what these young ladies had accomplished, and what we had done as a staff, and how historic that was for our school, being the first state championship. And it was Monday, but it's one of those moments that you relive probably for at least a few seconds every day. And I'm grateful for the memories that they have given us. Our coaching staff is fantastic. And it's just been, every coach dreams about getting to a moment like that. We have a coach on staff that has been on several staffs. He's been coaching for close to 40 years, and that was the first time that he'd ever been there. Just stories like that. I'm going to remember those for the rest of my life. So it's been a blessing. It truly, I think it's going to take a little bit more time probably to process it all and get back to business as usual.
Hey, Coach, appreciate the time and congratulations again.
You bet. Thank you. Appreciate you.
That is Carl Hines, head coach of the Sacred Heart Knights girls basketball team. We'll have more of the show after the break.